Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Jonathan. I'm a spiritual guide, a healer, and a medium. To my returning subscribers, welcome back, my friends. Welcome back. And thank you for liking, sharing, and especially commenting on my videos. I love to interact with you guys, and it's helping me to get more and more exposure here on this platform. In today's video, I want to talk about why it is now time to overcome any and all fears that are currently holding you back. Because once you do, many things are going to be revealed to you that I'm going to talk about in this video. Let's get started. When I'm talking about facing your fears, I'm not talking about as far as example going skydiving. I'm not talking about as far as you're afraid of sharks, going to swim with sharks. What I'm talking about is looking at your life objectively and seeing all the different times fear stopped you, as example, from achieving greatness. All the times that fear held you back from having this incredible, wonderful opportunity. And then as far as how fear has literally controlled your life, controlled your reality, controlled your personality, controlled your mindset as far as how you perceive your reality, and especially controlled as far as what is your expectations when you get, example, in a situation of stepping into the unknown. And as far as for myself, fear has stopped me far more times from achieving greatness, from having this incredible, wonderful experience than to protect myself. And once I had my spiritual awakening, I'm going to be honest with you, fear had so much control in my life previously. But once I started to have my spiritual awakening, and is this especially when I began the hermit phase, and I began to heal, I began to allow those emotions to come out, I began to purge, I started to realize, as far as having fear of feeling any type of emotion because of certain past painful experiences, that at the time I was unable to release it. And after a certain while, what ends up happening is you continuously are packing painful experiences, negative experiences in your heart space, and it literally cuts off any ability to feel that love, joy, and bliss, that happiness. And that was the point that I was at, because I was so fearful of shedding tears, and I had to do a lot of inner work as far as my inner child. I had to do a lot of inner work as far as looking back as to where did this originate from? Where did this fear of feeling any type of emotion, expressing them or releasing them, where did it come from? And as far as your upbringing, you could have the absolute most wonderful upbringing, but it's a matter of how did you perceive certain situations in your upbringing. As an example, my father was in the Air Force, so oftentimes he would come home and he would be angry, you know what I mean? I had no idea as far as what he saw, I had no idea as far as what he did, what was going on, and therefore a lot of times he'd come home, he could be sad, he could be, angry, and it made me feel a little unsafe. All of a sudden, things were not predictable. And as far as being an empath, we're all born an empath, but it's during our upbringing, depending on our immediate surrounding, that decides whether this empathic ability is going to not get shut down, but it's going to dim as far as how powerful we are, or it's going to get amplified up. And throughout this situation where I was completely safe, but what I perceived, I was in an unsafe situation. For my empathic abilities got heightened up, and it was uncertain as far as what was going to happen. Same thing, it ended up hyping up. But what ended up happening, now all of a sudden I was being told that I was overly sensitive. All of a sudden I was being told that I took things too much at heart. I took things too personal. I had to toughen up. I had to, never show someone my tears, because shedding tears is a sign of weakness. And I took this into adulthood. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I took this into adulthood. Therefore, I had so many suppressed, painful emotions. But once I had my awakening, I started to follow what I was most fearful about. I started to act. Anytime I started to feel this fear, that was one of the main first one that came up, is fear of feeling any type of painful emotions. I was going through an incredibly deep level depression. Why? Because I had suppressed so many painful experiences. I refused to just let it out because of this self-limited belief that was infused in my mind at a very young age. But throughout the awakening process, I allowed those painful emotions to come out. I completely let go of any type of resistance. And that's when all of a sudden it dawned on me, there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. It was the complete opposite. And this has continuously happened as far as on my spiritual journey, is stepping into the unknown, doing something that's completely out of character as far as my previous self. But once again, as far as my previous self, I used to identify myself as highly introverted, extremely shy, literally unable to speak to individuals. I would go into, let's say I go in a room, I would literally blend in with everything around. Therefore, I wasn't opening up to individuals. But then going through the awakening, all of a sudden, started to stand up for myself more and more, started to speak more and more of my authentic truth. I was able to all of a sudden begin to release that fear of being judged by others, because all of a sudden the weight as far as being judged by others, it really died down as far as how much I actually cared what other individuals thought of me. And what ended up happening is, by beginning to speak my truth, by beginning to let my light shine for all the right reasons, all of a sudden people just dropped out of my life like dead flies. All of a sudden I became alone, literally all family and friends, everyone. And it's something that we have to go through, because it's necessary to remove any type of outside interference for allow you to really truly tap into who you are at the core, as far as a soul level. So right now, if you're feeling fearful and you haven't done this yet, bathe in that fear one last time and realize that if you've had a spiritual awakening, it isn't just for your own personal benefit. You might not be aware of it right now, but there is some major mission that you are going to accomplish. You might not realize it right now, but you are divinely guided and protected. Sometimes these ideas that are coming forth, they're not just your ideas. These are divine downloads that are coming forth. But start looking as far as right now, where is there any type of fear? Because what you're going to notice is, once you start to step into where you're most fearful about, it's going to reveal everything to you. You are meant to step into that fear, and you're meant to let it go. As far as the self-limited belief, as far as an example, expectations. During my spiritual awakening, I did so much spiritual bypassing the first year. And in a sense, I knew that it wasn't the right path as far as in this 3D reality, to literally remove myself out of this reality and forget about all my troubles. But it was necessary. It's the same thing as far as example, when I started to meditate, when I was in that hermit phase, I had to smoke marijuana to artificially raise up my vibrational frequency, because it was so low, in order to really begin to benefit from meditating, really begin to get rid of those blockages, release those blockages. But at a certain point, I realized that my vibrational frequency was higher than the vibrational frequency of marijuana, and I let it go. And it's the same thing as far as spiritual bypassing. I was such a mess on the inside that it didn't matter what my reality was like. It didn't matter what was happening in my reality. I really had to put all of my time and my energy and my focus on myself. I had to get rid of any type of outside interference that would remotely veer me off of my course that I was beginning to feel pulled towards. And this isn't going to happen overnight, but you're going to notice the more you face that fear, the more you overcome it and you let it go. And realize this, that your thoughts play a major part as far as the outcome of a situation. And as far as for myself, all this fear that was coming up towards certain situation was all past experiences, that not even experiences, it's just past thoughts as far as how I perceive a situation would turn out. What was I expecting a situation to turn out at? And at a certain point, it was time to get back in reality. I started to face all the things that I was being afraid of in the past, and I realized something. As an example, oh my God, previously these people were extremely cruel and aggressive towards me, and now all of a sudden they're kind and loving and understanding and compassionate. And that's what's going to happen. You're going to notice so many situations as far as self-limited beliefs you hung on to are completely false. I used to always think, as example, I'm meeting someone new. I used to always think these people are thinking the absolute worst in me, but it really was how I felt inside. It was the depressive state that I was in. As example, the same thing as far as lifting weights. I was heavy into that. Why? To have this big protection around my heart. You know what I mean? It was like I had this rock protection all around me, but inside, I was just a kind, caring, loving soul. But through everything that I experienced, and I kept on suppressing all my emotions, I refused myself to feel those. And as you begin to move forward, what you're going to realize is the majority of things that you're afraid of, one, could reveal to you your spiritual gifts. Two, could reveal to you the path, the most authentic path that you're meant to take. Because once you start looking at life as far as the life lessons that you're meant to learn, you're going to start realizing, oh my God, I've struggled, example, like with me, being an introvert, being shy around individuals, being able to speak my authentic truth. I was shy, but that's why that was reflecting in my reality to make me realize, listen, you need to start speaking your authentic truth. Because as far as previously, but prior to my awakening, I swear to God, literally maybe 5 people my entire life actually got to see the real Jonathan. The majority of individuals, I was always thinking, what is it that they want me to say? How can I get them to agree with me? How can I get them to like me more? Where in reality, it was doing the complete opposite. And that's why I had all these situations come up. But once you start facing them, you're going to realize situations are turning out in your favor far more often. They're revealing things to you at an extremely deep level as far as certain characteristics, as far as certain abilities, as far as certain secret hidden talents, and especially as far as how is it that you're meant to move forward. Because this journey, no matter what you've experienced in the past, moving forward it can be as magical as you want it to be. How is it that I've gone from being a truck driver to now being a spiritual guide? Let's be honest, when I had my initial awakening, if you would have asked me to write down a million different careers, I would have never once said spiritual guide. I would have never once said energy healer. I would have never once said a medium. And guess what? It was through this self-discovery. It was through peeling back the layers, amping up my spiritual gift. And for myself, it's really consuming all this high vibe content. I'm either learning, practicing, or taking action, because for myself, it's what I'm passionate about. I'm not being forced to consume that type of material. I'm not being forced to learn more and more as far as spirituality, as far as all these different things. And what's wonderful is, no matter how much you've learned, there's always more to learn. No matter how high you're vibing, there's always another level you can get up to. No matter what is it that you're attracting as far as abundance, there's always more to come forth. This is the never-ending journey, but it all begins but by beginning to face your fears one by one, bathing in it if you have to. You literally, if all of a sudden this fear is coming up and you're able to meditate on it and just take in that fear, just absorb that fear, and then you transmute it into love. You completely vanish that fear once and for all. And once you do, you're going to notice all of a sudden, oh my God, I no longer have manifestation blockages. Oh my God, all of a sudden I'm beginning to meet like-minded individuals. All of a sudden I'm meeting the most kindest, caring, loving, and caring and compassionate individuals around. All of a sudden it just feels like luck is on my side. All of a sudden you're given the gift of time in order to invest into what your heart truly desires. And as far as moving forward, these eclipses, a lot of things are going to be coming up. A lot of things, even certain things that you're not going to be aware of. I'm going to be doing a lot of past life regressions, ancestral bloodline work. I'm going to be doing a lot of deep diving into that, because at the surface, at the core, I've done that inner healing. Is there still more healing to come? Yes, but right now that's the direction that I'm being pulled towards. So whatever is going to be coming up, realize that it's coming up to be released. It's coming up to help empower you. It's coming up to help align you on the most authentic path possible. It's coming up to allow you to start to bring forth that necessary abundance, that necessary resources to really let your light shine for all the right reasons. And as far as whichever spiritual awakening stage you're currently at right now, Time is on our side. I don't want any of you to feel as if there's some type of pressure. A lot of people saying right now we've shifted into 5D. Don't worry about it. Just continue to focus on your vibrational frequency. Act on that guidance, and whenever something comes up to be released, give yourself permission to release it. Let go of the control that it has had over you. Let go of, as far as the control, as far as in your subconscious mind, how it's developed a certain personality trait, it's developed a certain type of characteristic, it's created a certain way of acting or reacting towards situations, and realize that now is the time to empower yourself. Now is the time to level up. Now is the time to truly discover how powerful of a spiritual being that you are, and all the good that you're going to do in this world as far as helping the overall collective level up, ascend, raise their vibrational frequency to that 5th dimension. And if you're able to, get yourself grounded out in nature. If you're able to, near a creek, a river, if you're near the ocean, release that stress, clear that mind, and realize that you might not quite see all the manifestations coming forth, but God, your angels, and your universe are working extremely hard in order to bring forth the absolute best manifestation. I had a friend, quick story, I had a friend 1 year ago wanted to sell her house. It didn't end up happening. Well, guess what? She ended up selling her house now at this very moment, and she got a lot more than what she would have gotten a year ago, which allowed her to create, to attract a dream of hers. So trust in divine timing. Trust in that perfect divine timing, because sometimes you have to wait for an extra period of time, but what's coming forth is much bigger than what you had anticipated. Well, that's going to do it for the video. I love you guys. You guys have an awesome day. Namaste.